And thank you to the Center for Business, and that would be our chair, Colin Williams, who gave us the budget to allow the students to participate for free. As you recall, and we've learned from our Take Two experiences, and we've introduced some house rules. So Joshua and Keisha may be connecting with you guys related to how you've signed in. In a group meeting, in a real meeting, we'd have name tags that would clearly identify our names, but also our roles or the company that we're from. So we've asked guests to sign in, or we've asked the participants to sign in with their team names if they're a student on a team, so that the judges can easily identify who's speaking. And then we've talked about, you can access the mic anytime you like, but if you're not speaking, we're asking you to turn it off. If you're having difficulties with volume and connectivity, it might be that you should sign out and re-sign in using Chrome and sit on top of your Wi-Fi. And so we've developed some house rules that we will hope will improve the experience for today and future meetings. We signed in early for those people that I was wondering who Marco is, because Marco is really Mark from SAS. And we thought it was a secret guy signing in. Who's this Marco? And thanks, Mark from SAS, as I mentioned earlier. I'm going to start with, Philip is recommending that if we're not talking, that you turn off your mics as well to improve bandwidth. Technical stuff. So I'm going to start with opening remarks, and then we're going including announcing the winners, and we'll have the winners do an exception speech. So get ready in case you think you're winning. And then we'll go through some of the highlights from the different presentations and get feedback from the judges and from the students. And then we'll make some conclusions about what it takes to win, not just the competitions, but also to win in getting your jobs as you go forth and get paid. So you'll recall the competition. We started in April, hard to believe. We had the faculty members help to mentor the students. Anissa, thank you, Anissa, was the project manager for the competition, organizing all of our meetings and all of our communications. SAS provided a lot of learning materials, and the learning experience can continue because you have up to 30 hours per team of SAS Enterprise minor time, as well as access to additional learning materials to earn more badges from SAS. And today we're going to go through the results. And it started with us identifying the leaders on the board based on score. And as Mark is saying, there's lots of free stuff available, offered to all students during this time. And on the leaderboard, what we see is a lot of different expertise in skill levels, and that the competition was very suitable for anybody of any different skill levels. I believe that Siquin's team was one of the highest scoring teams in the competitions so far. Is that true, Mark? Or am I just tooting our horns? Yes, it is. One of the highest scores of the competition so far. And even our ADA's team isn't presenting today because they joined the team without any modeling experiences and were a little hesitant to compete against all you experts. But even that team performed above the baseline, which is amazing. And so congratulations to the teams. Half of the score is related to your technical experiences. So, but the other half, which is more important than, or equally as important as your as your technical experience is the soft skills, how you can communicate fairly complex ideas to in a simple way, in a fast way that's compelling and memorable and convinces the business to take action. And so that's what we did in the judging for the second half of the competition. We adjusted our process where we submitted videos, which I've shared with both the judges and all of the participants, so you can learn from each other going forward. And I'm going to announce the results now. Oh, so these were the competing teams based on their cover slides. Number 3, so in third place, that's a drum roll. In third place, we have the PGH team, number 3. You'll notice they weren't first on the leaderboard. Oh no, they were third on the leaderboard. In second place, we have, I think I can just go to the next slide. Just a second. Yeah, in third place, we have the PGH team. In second place, we have the GAP team. They were the highest scoring, very technical.
I'm actually going to try to do a drum. Oh,
shoot. And then the drum roll is Natalia, the team of Natalia. Yay!
Very good job.
Right.
And so, and is Natalia on today?
Yes, I'm on. Hi.
Oh, excellent. So put your thoughts together because you're on the agenda for some your acceptance speech in a few minutes, okay? So then that gives us our top 3 winners and the rankings for the rest of the teams based on their combined leaderboard and their presentations. So again, congratulations to Natalia. And I believe, all winners are winners because of the learning experience. So Natalia and Mark, do the top 3 get a winner badge? I think it's the top 3. We'll pretend it is. That you get your winner badge that you can post on LinkedIn on your profile, and everybody is going to get a participant's badge. And then for those that are continuing your studies, because some of the activities in this competition qualify towards your SAS certifications, you can continue to earn more badges. It's probably just the top winner that gets the badge, but everybody gets a participant badge. And congratulations to everybody. So that now is the time. Natalie, do you want to, or Natalia, do you want to share your thoughts on winning?
Sure. Hi. Hi, everyone. I wasn't expecting it. Trying to gather my thoughts, but it was an incredible experience because I come from a marketing background. So this past year, I've kind of drawn into the analytics world, and I'm really trying to mix both in. And when I first started, I had a couple of enterprise minor times when I used it in Alan's class, but it was the first time that I was able to do it fully by myself and really immerse myself in the competition, and it was a lot of fun. Trying to get the correct model and then trying to present it in a way that told a story. And I want to thank Karen and Anissa and everyone who really helped. It was an incredible experience, and I think I learned a lot from doing it all by myself. But it was incredible, and I don't even know what to say because I'm so surprised that I was able to do it. But I had a lot of resources from SAS and YouTube, and even watching the presentations from Michael, a couple other
too. Yeah.
Story.
Nice. And that tells you something about just the prevalence of data literacy, right? That it's not just the data geeks that can do it, right? Anybody who has a strong business background can do it. And the tools like Enterprise Miner are getting very helpful in enabling entry-level people to make incremental improvements in their decision making, even without a statistician type of role. But the statistician type of roles will get better jobs and get paid more in analytics. Right, Mark? Yes. Okay, so thank you. And then the next portion of the agenda, we thought we would go through each of the teams in kind of spotlight and highlight and allow each of the teams to talk about the highlights from their experiences and an opportunity for the judges in particular to give some feedback. So thanks to the judges. Many of them are on the call. A few of them had to step out for other activities due to the Take Two activity, but they did participate in the judging process. After this session, I'll be compiling the written comments that you'll have a chance to pore over and continue your learning experience. So with that, Natalia is the winner, and we've already heard from her experiences. From the judges, any comments?
Yeah, hi, this is Chris. So I think I was assigned to speak to Natalia. I think for me specifically, Natalia was excellent at laying out the objective, which was very clear. I think a lot of that, it was really, as a judge, being able to actually understand what the goals was. The structure was excellent. I like the presentation style. The only thing that was a bit of something to focus on was recommendations were a bit light. But other than that, the style and the approach, it was very clear and straightforward and very well structured and clear to follow.
Yeah, and this is Jerry speaking, the other judge, providing feedback for Natalia. I think in terms of the deck, what I really liked about it was what really shined was the actual story. So how you built the case from the beginning to explain the background, the objectives, get into the approach that you use from a data mining perspective, all to your to the end of the story where you start talking about your recommendations. Great way to build your deck. That was one of the things that I think shines in comparison to all the other decks that I saw in Group 1, was essentially the continuation or the continuity of your story throughout the whole deck. So great work.
Any other comments from the judges? Because it was pretty, like, it was a simple presentation, avoided a lot of jargon. But
yeah, so it was funny. I was actually chatting with Tom about this in terms of some of the decks in Group 1 that I saw. What I find when evaluating decks with analysts that I work with at Cossette, the biggest challenge I have is I find some analysts tend to hide behind charts and graphs and not necessarily do a really good job of telling stories. And I found, for the most part, I saw, for the most part, the stories were really in line. Obviously taking into account the fact that I think you only really didn't have a lot of time to actually build these decks and cases, so that obviously was taken into account when evaluating them. But in terms of the stories of all the other decks, I think one comment that I'd give to everybody is try not to just hide behind your charts. Try to highlight the work or the results that you're actually seeing in some of these decks. I found, whilst some people did speak to some of the results, what I didn't find was there weren't the certain valuable or variable certain important pieces of their analysis wasn't really highlighted or didn't really come out, didn't really jump out in the deck. And I thought Natalia's deck really did a good job of that. So
yeah, okay.
Hopefully that gives context to everybody.
Yes, and they'll all have a chance to look at it because the video's link has been provided. Natalia, any other questions for the judges?
No, thank you so much for your feedback. I will definitely take into account providing more details on the recommendations. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, and then we have Gab. So that's the number 2 winner. very different presentations, a lot of technical details. Any comments from the student participants first about your experience?
Hi, Karen. This is Shang-Shi. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Hi. Yeah, so we worked as a team collaboratively throughout the experience, and I think it's quite a fun and exciting experience overall. It's a good way to learn about the business background, and throughout the modeling process, we pick up a lot of technical knowledge and details as well. So because this is a business problem that we're trying to solve, so we think about the business every time throughout the entire process, and so we tried very hard and tried our best to get to the top on the leaderboard, and I think we did a great job in that part. Also in presentation, I think we tried to come up with a story and to tell it in a way that the judges and everyone can understand it, but probably we included too much information. So in that regard, I think Natalia did a great job in laying out the objective and the key findings and everything in her presentation. So that's my own feeling, and I think that's something that we can get improved on next time. So yeah, that's my feeling.
Thanks, Shang-Shi. Let's see what the judges say. Comments from the judges. Excellent presentation too, right? Judges?
Hi, it's
Xavier?
I'm the judge for this. So I think a lot of it compared to Natalia's was just, to me, you guys had a lot of nice technical details on everything, right? Like you explained, all your models, all your random forests, you explained the misclassification weights and everything. So, you did a lot of technical things. But what I find a little different compared to Natalia's is that your presentation didn't flow as well. Meaning, one of the main thing was that you're the first presentation I looked at. It was, to me,
Okay, I'm going to turn off some of the
and
other.
here is. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So, there was it went directly into the executive summary, which was like, this is the conclusion of what we found. And I liked your executive summary quite a bit, but it just didn't seem like you guys kind of came in and said, this is what we found, this is how we did it, this is what we found again, right? And a lot of that preliminary analysis, the woman donating more and things like that, I love that, but I would have liked to see how you came to that, instead of here is a infographics about what we found, right? I think a lot of your technical detail can still stay, right? But during a business presentation, you don't really need to go quite technical. You into the appendix, so that somebody says, I want to see that misclassification where you can quickly pull that up and show it to them, right? I know this is a YouTube presentation, so it's a little different, but something like that would help you guys a lot for the long run. Just make sure things flow, right?
And any other
From
judges
point A to
input?
point B to point C, like you do this model, right? Go.
Any other judges have some comments?
I would just add that when you're presenting to executives, they want to understand how you got there, to just validate that there is consistency in analysis from previous years, or previous programs. So if there is a process explained how you got there, that's almost as important as the results. So it lets you check that the results are valid because the process is valid. That's all I would add.
You know what I loved about
If I
this
may, it's Philip.
Oh, sorry.
It's Philip here.
Brendan?
Yes,
Oh, sorry. Who was trying to speak?
that was
Philip.
Philip.
Okay. I'll do
So-
Brendan, Philip first and then Brendan.
Thank you. I'll put my hand down. The other thing that I'd like to add is it's not just judges. Because if you're in industry, you need to consider whom your audience are. So if I'm presenting to an executive for funding, I need to explain it like they're a 3-year-old, basically, and to their focus. And that's where maybe you would focus on the ROI. If, however, I'm looking at moving a project and I'm promoting to a VP who's looking at data, then that's where I would come up with the geeky numbers, so to speak.
And Brendan?
Yes, so I was the other judge focused on Team GAP. I am probably the 3-year-old in the room because I didn't go to school for computer science or stats. I'm a recruiter for this space. So, I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff over the years, but indeed needs to be explained to me like a 3-year-old. So I like the fact that the classification models built, random forest gradient boosting there, were very heavily, I'd say, articulated from a business component. There's a lot of libs and curves and graphs and kind of, I'd say, cool things that would help somebody understand the target market and the demographics and so forth. I really like that a lot. I would say the only thing that, I think might be missing from it was the clear objective initially. To Xavier's earlier point, I think, it was pretty to the point. Here's the result, here's recommendations, here's the ROI, what we think is coming, versus a really clear articulation. And I think Natalia had done hers out of the gate. Here's the mandate, here's what we're going to tackle throughout the course of this presentation, and so on. But otherwise, very strong business communication on my end. Like I had no concern or question around the recommendation there. So good job, Gap, on that one.
Would this get a reference? Would this get carried forward as a recommendation for a job opening? He's a recruiter.
For a job opening, you mean in terms of getting the head count at this point in time?
Yeah. So if they had to do this as an assignment to get an interview, would this get them the interview?
Would this get them an interview? I think because of the presentation, yes. I think that the manager or somebody that would be part of the SLT senior leadership team would know that there's some coaching involved from just the overall holistic view of what the presentation would need to be. But somebody like this, or people putting this together, yeah, I think it would be impressive to somebody at a SLT for sure. Love it.
Excellent. Okay.
Okay,
Any
great.
other-
Karen, if you don't mind, I just want to add, one last comment. So
Yes.
Thank you, judges, for all your recommendations. I think, it's good for us to know what we did good and what are some of the parts that we can still improve on. So thank you.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Okay, so we'll go on to the next team. And at any time, you can reach out to the judges for more feedback and for the students, that is, and vice versa. If you want to hire any of the students, feel free to reach out to them. So third place. Students, did you want to comment on your experiences at the start, and then we'll ask the judges for their additional inputs? Priyanka, you're on, right?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, we would like to share our experience. Actually, this actually is the first time for all of our team members here.
Yes.
So there was a lot of learning. I have to say, and I especially learned from Yanni a lot. He did a lot with the modeling and stuff. there was a lot of learning inside the team as well. And yeah, it definitely feels good to have a ranking as I know everybody was more focused on learning, and it's a new experience for all of us, I'm sure. So yeah, and from our team, we would like to thank mentors, judges.
Great. And so judges, any comments for the team? Maybe Chris or Xavier? I liked how this team, like you explained some of the variables, and I believe your team was the one that had some identification of top variables early on, and then how you had changed your opinion throughout the process. That was one thing that stuck out to me.
This is Chris. I wasn't assigned this, but I did review it. I do have some feedback that would be helpful.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I noticed was there was lots of content in the outline. One of the things that Natalia did great was the story, and it was a clear flow. So there was lots of content, perhaps. So it was quite text heavy in certain ways. However, what I did really see with you, which I think you excelled, and for me, you did the best, was in terms of the recommendations. I mean, you were talking about, next steps, doing the video. It felt very thorough. So with you, I was leaving going like, oh, they've made a case, and now I see how it can be implemented, and it's clear that you had thoughts and diligent recommendations. That really. The only thing I also wanted to add, which I thought was a good tack that Natalia did, was to add to the story building. I think she was the only, at least for the ones that I saw, who included actually her presenting it. It immediately made us more engaged. So I think that was actually a very smart move that Natalia did.
Thank you so much.
Okay, any other comments on this one before we move on? It's a learning experience, right? Okay. The next ones will go a little bit faster because we've already said some significant main points for each for overall. Because Blue Analytics was number 5 on the leaderboard, but ended up 4th in the final rankings. Blue Analytics, anyone want to comment on your experiences on behalf of the team?
Hi, Karen. It's Paige. I just wanted to say thank you to the judges for listening to our presentation, and we're thankful for the learning experience. I don't think any of us really had much experience building predictive models, so this was a great way to get some hands-on experience on how to build them and what sort of models are out there, like regression decision trees and how they work. And I think we just had a good time playing around in Enterprise Miner and finding what works and what doesn't. And yeah, the SAS YouTube videos were very helpful for helping learn sort of what to do here. So yeah, thanks everyone.
Okay, from the judges? One of the things that I look for when I watch, when I look at presentations, is something that's memorable about the presentation. And what I thought that was unique and different on yours is how you had identified that your model had identified a lot of untapped potential people who hadn't given recently, and it was so therefore a unique way of identifying people that weren't currently active to reactivate, which was a different comment than any of the other teams had talked about. Like a lot of teams, like even the GAP team talked about women being an indicator, and you had come up with something that was a bit unique.
Hi, it's Jim here. I wasn't assigned the Blue Analytics, but I do want to say that I very much liked your slides. I liked the design. I liked the flow of your presentation, and I particularly liked the way you wound up with a very quantitative recommendation. that would lead to an ROI, which is something that just about everyone in business is looking for. So well done.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, thanks. Any, and Michael's adding that the theme was the strongest throughout your presentation. Thanks, Michael. Okay, I'll go to the next team. And that's Attetion Batuhan. Any comments about your process and experiences, Hitesh?
Hi, Karen.
Hey.
As we were working on regression and neural networks, we learned so many things about the process and the models. But I was just curious about how to get to the highest score, like Natalia went
Yeah.
to that score. Yeah, that is the main thing. And the other thing I miss that our presentation wasn't so good like the others. If I compare to the others, like Blue Team and Natalia's presentation, so need to work on these skills, I think.
Yeah, and it's hard to do. It's hard to do both new skills at the same time and with a very short prep time. Yeah. So
Yeah.
and that's what's interesting, and we'll let the judges talk too, because which modeling method was best? Team
Yeah.
one. What did you use again?
We
The
use
gap.
regression. Oh, gap.
What did Gap use? I think they used.
They use gradient boosting, I think.
Yeah, and you used
Regression and neural networks.
neural networks, and a bunch of teams said nick on the neural networks, particularly when in the next few presentations that we're coming up with that scored lower. So there's no answer to this, right?
Yeah.
So I leave it with you to continue to explore. But
Yeah.
as you go through, and I think one of the judges had mentioned earlier, to be clear on the methodologies that you use, because the choice of your modeling methods, it will affect your score for sure, right?
Yeah, it does.
And maybe it's a combination. So judges, comments for Hitesh, although they both know that they need to improve on their presentation. Because the judge that was going to comment on that today isn't here, so I didn't.
Well, this is Chris. I mean, I also I had thoughts if that would be helpful. Sorry, this is I didn't hear if you heard me, but I was just going to say, this is Chris again. For me, what was that I thought that I couldn't see really clearly a lot of recommendations and insights. So that was the key for me, that there wasn't a ton of recommendations. And I think the only other takeaway that I had was there was quite a lot of explanation about what a different type of model was, and I would have liked a lot more of just what your findings were. So I'm just wondering, that would have just been my take, a lot more focus on the analysis and the strategy of what the actual outcomes were.
Yeah, avoid being textbook guys, right? In the worst case, right? Avoid being the textbook. Yeah.
Thanks, Karen. Thanks,
Yeah.
Chris.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Chris. Oh, and as Robin's talking about, when he gave a comment when he was listening to the presentation, it was hard to tell which model you were using because you presented them all, but but it wasn't clear which ones that you chose to use and why. Thanks, Robin. So Team Zeal, they do you want to comment on your experiences? I see Claire is here today, right?
It almost looks like Stanley wanted to speak.
Oh, Stanley.
Well, I was all ready to give the feedback, but if they're not here, then
Okay.
I don't have to give the feedback.
Yeah, right. So Ao's here.
Well, it's being recorded.
Oh shoot! I forgot to turn on the. Oh, it is recording.
It is, but no, you're doing that correctly. If they want, do you think they're going to look back on this?
Let me just for a second though. Let me just check. Ao, did you want to make a comment on behalf of the team? There she is. So Ao's mic is on, but she's not. I'm not hearing anything. Are you guys? So, so Stanley, can you make some comments on behalf of the team? Because AO is listening for sure.
Well, so I'll give you some comments that I had while watching the presentation. So I like that you started off with they started off with a focus. They really said what they that they wanted to not necessarily cast a wide net, but they wanted to focus on who was going to be most likely to donate. But then I think they lost their way a little bit, and it got kind of confusing when they started talking about actually doing some of the analysis. They spent 4 minutes on a specific slide. It's actually there in the bottom right, that data and analytic approach model comparison. And they spent 3 or 4 minutes talking about how if a line is small, then it's not as important. And they weren't really showing examples of it because they were just talking about this line, about this. I was just looking at this photograph. So it was so I didn't totally understand where they were coming from with some of their points. Just because it wasn't they didn't have any graphics to go along with it, and so it just seemed like they were just talking off words that weren't clear enough.
And that tells you of the visual of your presentation,
right?
Both control the timing and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you a slide a minute is usually what people say. So if you were realizing that you're going for 3, 4, or 5 minutes on a single slide, then the slide isn't necessarily really helpful for you.
Yeah. And they went over, right? They went over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's what I really wanted to say.
Okay. And AO's is apologizing because she's having difficulties with her her microphone. But I think that that comment's probably sufficient, and then she'll be listening to it as well, and you can reach out. Because the pace was good if you had stuck to the slides a little bit more. All right, so then we've got Preeti and Chahats. Preeti, are you on? Yeah, she's here.
Yeah,
today.
hi Karen, how are you?
Very well. And I know you had some challenges at the beginning on just getting system access and everything, but what was the learning experience like for you?
Like we could get on the software very late actually, only a few hours, and then it was a new software for us, both of us. So we didn't really do much, and it was just, some hands-on experience that we gained. So that was also reflected maybe in the presentation.
Yes.
But it was a good experience.
Yeah, yeah. And yours is one of the unique teams that brought in some, external data to kind of triangulate some of your learnings, which was good.
Yeah, from the StatScan, we thought that this would, just relate to the current scenario and how it is all going on.
So Jim, did you have or judges have some comments?
Yeah. Yeah, it's Jim here. Yes, good point on the extra data. You can never have too much data, right? I found your objectives were quite clear, and I like the fact that you used the sort of SEMA approach and highlighted that. I found that your your slides, you had a lot of charts and graphs, and well, that's valuable if you're talking to a technical audience that you would enjoy that. There might have been a few too many for a general business audience. A personal opinion, you also used a lot of color, and color can be very helpful, but it can be distracting as well. You dropped a couple of tables of data, and again, personal opinion, I would kind of avoid those if you can. Much better to put them in a chart form, or a graph form, sorry. If possible, that's much more visual, much easier for a general audience to pick up. And I found that your recommendations were a little light. You pointed in the right direction, but again, it's very helpful to try to quantify these things if you can. But you obviously put in a lot of work, and the overall presentation flow was good. But with those things, little attention to those things, I think it'd be very, very good.
Thank you so much.
Hi, it's Tony here. Also want to share some thought. Similar to what Jim mentioned, I think you kind of putting too much information in one slide. I think you should limit on like the numbers of tasks and the number of charges. Try to focus on one story per slide so that the audience won't lose their focus. And also think about your audience. If you're trying to present this to the people who can make decisions, which is usually the executive people, you're including a lot of technical details in it, and especially a lot of the charts directly from SaaS. I think it would be better if you interpret it and put it into an actual business story instead of the technical chart. That would be much better.
Yeah. And it's surprising how much technology scares people. And so as soon as they see oh my God, that's a SaaS thing, I don't know if I can understand it. And we're learning a little bit about the fear of that when we're trying to learn all of these different collaborate technologies in a simple way. Yeah. And to add to your point, Philip had mentioned the KISS, remember the KISS method principle.
Yeah, I'll try to accommodate everything in the upcoming competitions. And it was just, the time and yeah.
Yep. Very well done.
Yeah,
and then we have the last presentation, which was the bunch of third graders. Very, very, very fun title. What was your experience like?
Hi, Karen, it's Lily here. Can you hear me?
Lily. Yes.
Hi, everybody. So thank you for the competition. And my team and I had learned a lot from this whole process. And I think the other team already mentioned about we share kind of similar experience what we learned in this competition. But for us, it's also about like we spent a lot of time trying to understand the data and try to clean the data as well. I think that's take us quite a few time to do that. And we also learn how to choose the variable that can contribute to the model as well. But overall, it's a very good experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So any of the judges have some comments? Is Greg here? I don't think Greg is here today. Put your thoughts together. One of the things that I found memorable about this presentation was the introduction of previous experiences in this area. So Anurita had talked about he was working on a previous competition to work with real clients in this area and to help them out with and applying some of that learning in this competition. Thought was really good, which made me think about we should do that for us, right? Simran's not on the call today. She had a business meeting, and she's interested in trying to find nonprofit organizations that need consultants to help them with their planning to be more effective in using their fundraising money. And perhaps we could reach out to some of them and see if we can get some projects that you might work on in real life. And any of the judges that are on the call, did they have a chance to prepare any thoughts specifically for the bunch of third graders? My big takeaway from this, Mike saying that he really enjoyed the presentation style and its simplicity, so the KISS principle.
Yeah.
And yeah, but you went way over time, right? So you got a bit, which suggests that you got a bit too much into the details. Yeah. So the and Laurence is mentioning a great link to the objectives to make sure that your work went back and connected with the objectives. Okay, so those were we learned a lot, right? To conclude, Any final thoughts, both from the judges and from the students and from the faculty that were coaching you through the process on the competition? Anything else that we haven't heard from yet?
I would like to say that I thought all the presentations were really well done. Lots of effort by the students. The advantage of competing in something like this is that you see all the other competitions, all the other submissions, which you don't know in industry. You just get the call whether you got the assignment or not. And if you didn't get the assignment, companies aren't going to say, this is all the stuff that you missed. As compared to the other submissions. Also, when you are judging these from a client standpoint, you have to hire somebody that's going to get the job done. What are my problems or my opportunities? What's the process that I trust is going to get to the answer? And do I have confidence that this group is going to be able to do the right data search and the right analytics and put it in terms that we can act on? That's what I would add.
And that's the importance of the story and to build the confidence as well, right? And to be able to persuade. And I think we also heard as a big theme was, to focus on what matters. So know your audience. And so to some audiences, your modeling methodologies in detail might matter, but to the business, as Laurence is suggesting, is it's about actionable ability to make decisions. Another best practice I think we heard about is the importance of the recommendations. You could do all of this work, but if you can't, if your audience doesn't leave with an exact activity or direction to take from your meeting, then all of that work has lesser value. Anything else?
Yeah, I was just going to ditto that. This is Chris Carter is just saying again, it was answering the questions why and. So it was kind of being attuned to how are you, okay, and so what's next? Why do I care? And so it was being attuned to being able to answer those questions, and a couple teams did that very well.
Okay. And Michael, did you have any comments? Michael? Yeah, because and Michael, as you recall, he's big on your presentations. So
Hey, yes, can you hear me?
Now we can.
Okay, yeah, so I'll be very quick. Just from a visual standpoint, some of the things that I noticed that was kind of frustrating was not seeing commas used on big numbers. When you're showing off dollar amounts and stuff like that, a giant string of numbers is very hard to read. So that was frustrating not to see. Not indicating what type of metric is being shown, if it is a number in terms of total or if it's a cost or like what that number is. Generally, I don't recommend using all caps in large amounts of text. It's hard to read. It's a slower thing for the mind to process. Not respecting margins or borders. Having your stuff kind of like all over the place. Like I understand it's tight to fit things in, but having your stuff go outside the margins doesn't look as professional. And then not using segues or segments between the different parts of your presentation so that people know where they are or what you're about to talk about. That definitely helps. And then also with your theme in terms of your PowerPoint, the look and feel, choosing one that has the space that you need and matches with the story that you're trying to tell. And then the very last one is just about the quality of the screenshots that you're using. Make sure that you get a high resolution screenshot, or better yet, just rebuild the chart. I know that takes more time, but visually, it just makes everything look more polished.
And considering though the amount of work that you guys did in a week, and that you turned around some very powerful stories about your learning experience as well as your recommendations. Amazing job. So let's do a round of applause for everybody. And that's a wrap, right? And I just want to remind everybody that the GBC Analytics Club speaker series continues. We've got sessions start on Monday for continuing from our first conversation about blockchain, the what, why, and how of innovation of blockchain. We've got the future of work with the other Nathaniel on May 5th. And we've got some other big speakers coming up. We have our celebration on May 8th for the, because we have to remember that half of the students on the call today that participated in this competition are graduating. Congratulations, everybody. And we're going to have a little bit of a party on May 8th, so bring your own thing, whatever it is that you want to bring. And we have Olivia Parroud is going to talk to us about building on some of the themes we talked about, the soft skills for data scientists. So that's on May 12th. Sean helped us organize this great speaker. And then we have Riddy, who's going to talk on May 15th, particular of interest to the audience on the new Canadian job experience and some tips for success there. She's currently at Microsoft after graduating from George Brown. So thanks. So that's our conclusion for today. Keep learning. Thank you to all the students that participated. Thank you to the judges and the faculty. We had an amazing team. Anissa, you were fabulous in keeping the cats in order. So thank you very much, everybody.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Anissa, did you have any concluding comments about your experiences as another fellow winner of competition?
You know, just maybe concluding on this one, I think, you know, like you said, Karen, take two, things definitely happen. And I just want to shout out everyone, the judges, the students. I mean, the ability for us to pivot so well and get to, I would call it success today, is incredible. And it takes a lot of people working really well together to push through. And Karen, yourself as well, so dedicated. Michael, for putting together the deck, for creating the logo, our judges, our faculty, you know, everyone did so well. And I just want to take some time to shout everyone out. You know, we're here, we made it, take two, but it's done, and it's a success.
Amazing. All right, that's a wrap then, everybody. Thanks a lot.
Well done. Bye.
Hi, everyone.
Thanks a lot, Karen.
Thank you, everyone. Awesome.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
Feel free to share an emotive on your way out about how you feel. Thanks. Okay, this was good. Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It went really well, I think.
Let me just stop the recording.